Welcome to Awake to Oneness Radio. I am Caroline Chang, your host. The mission of Awake to Oneness Radio is to inspire the world to awaken to the universal truth of oneness. Science is now teaching us that all life is interconnected and interdependent. In essence, all life is one thing. And spirituality and ancient wisdom has been teaching the truth of oneness for eons. So science is just now catching up, but it's not even that new. The science I'm talking about, quantum physics, is over 100 years old. So it truly should be mainstream by this point, but it isn't. Most people don't understand the simple truth of oneness, and it's a universal truth. Everywhere you look, it talks about how everything is interconnected, interdependent, everything is one thing. So what you do to another person, you are literally doing to another aspect of yourself. And when mankind awakens to the universal truth of oneness, there will be peace on earth. Today's show topic is That Oneness Guy with Danny, don't tell me, Danny Rongo. Okay, I got a freeze, a mental freeze on your last name. Welcome, Danny. Awake to Oneness Radio.
Hi, Caroline. Yes, you got it right. Thank you so much for having me. This is great, and it is Rongo. I always hear people say since I was a little kid, sounds like Ringo Starr. So they would call me Rongo Starr, right? But that's all still good because I'm a musician too, so I don't mind that. I don't mind that association as a big Beatle fan myself.
Right. Yes. And I'm also a music fan. So we were talking a little bit about music before we got rolling. So Danny, I know how we got in contact. Facebook, you contacted me on Facebook, and then I checked out. You have your podcast, which is awesome, and you're East Coast. Most of the time, I'm talking to people either on the other side of the world or on the other side of the country. Very few East Coasters, but you're right in Jersey, my home state, not too far away from Pennsylvania. But please, Danny, I want you to introduce yourself to our listeners, and I want you to just tell us, how you came to this understanding of oneness.
Well, absolutely. First and foremost, Caroline, thank you for having me. It is my pleasure and my honor to be part of your world here. And to all the folks out there in Awake to Oneness Radio, hello. It's a pleasure to hang with you guys here for a little while. Hopefully, we can get to know each other. Again, Caroline was alluding to my podcast, which is called That Oneness Guy, and that's me. That's what I go by. Everything that I speak about on the podcast derives from a book that I recently published that's called I Am God, and So Are You, My Friends, A Common Man's Guide to Oneness. It's available everywhere. You can find it everywhere. It was published through Balboa Press, who is an affiliate of Hay House Incorporated, which, as most of you know, is probably the worldwide leader in spirituality publications. So I'm happy to be part of that family, and I'm very happy to be continuing my journey as it is of oneness, and that's why I branched out to start the podcast, which is now just about approaching a year old. I have 14 episodes that are out there. You can find them again everywhere on all your podcasting sites and apps. You can find it everywhere. Just search for That Oneness Guy. And I've been real happy about it too because, like I said, it's been a continuation of my book, and also it allows me to even share some of my music. Because I am a musician as well too, and a singer-songwriter, and the songs that I write all have the same message of oneness too. So I thought it would be a good idea, and like maybe to go from ground zero from my life per se to see, how this all started for me. Because I know that everyone out there, folks, all of you have your own, journey in life and how you came to find Caroline and how you came to find oneness in your own life. And it's a beautiful thing, and I applaud you for that. I applaud you first and foremost for having the guts to pay homage to your intuition, because that's what it's all about. It's about paying homage to our intuition, something inside us that tells us, hey, there's more to life than this. We are one. we all emanate from the same source.
Yes.
So, getting back to how it started with me, like I said, I'm a musician by trade, okay? And I noticed some 3 decades ago, I'm honest and say I'm 58, so in my early 20s, like when I started writing songs and stuff like that, everything, all of my lyrics had this same message, and it was all towards and about oneness. And I wasn't sure why, Caroline, but something inside me just told me just to keep going with that. So I would write these songs, and they would all be from a kind of peaceful, spiritual, and then a oneness foundation. Again, I didn't know why. I didn't ask myself why. I just knew that I was being called inherently to share my songs in that fashion. Time goes by. I start recording some CDs. I start performing live, because I'm a bass player by trade. So when I go out, folks, and perform, I use my acoustic bass guitar, and I play it like a guitar, and I just sing. So it's different. It's different to the ear. It's not an acoustic guitar. It's an acoustic bass guitar. So I have it right over here, by the way. And so it sounds different, but it still gave me a platform to go ahead and sing about what was important to me, and that is oneness, and that is sharing the information that I feel is so much important to our world nowadays. My inspiration for, I have to say, pretty much all of it, especially when I was younger, started from Dr. Wayne Dyer, who I know you're a very big fan of, Caroline.
Yes.
And again, going back those decades from when I was about, 15, 16 years old, I was introduced to his first book, Your Erroneous Zones, through a friend of mine when I was only a sophomore in high school. That's like 1976. Okay. And from that, I was just hooked, folks. So it was his spirituality that really became like a starting point for me as I started to grow and started to evolve into my own spirituality. So Dr. Dyer, to me, for what it's worth, will always be my guru, and I will always carry him near and dear in my heart, as you do too, Caroline. I know, because we discussed this before. So again, here I am writing songs, trying to share my message. Now, through this all, as I was performing, I played in a lot of bands as well too. I also had a career on Wall Street. Worked on Wall Street for the better part of 30 years, from 1986 until 2016. Oh. And okay. So that occupied an awful lot of my time, obviously, because it's such a high-end career and a high-end job to maintain. So that took a lot of time. And it wasn't until a moment in 2016 when I actually got laid off. Okay. And, that was a real hairy moment for me and my wife. Because you have to get used to that like kind of an income, like I said, it's tough to lose that. Right. But from that, I really had the opportunity to, delve more into my spirituality, and to really look for, okay, here's an opportunity for me. Yes. It allowed me to really delve into the concept of surrender. And also acceptance. I had to surrender to the fact that I know I'm not alone, and I know that losing that aspect of my life at that time happened for a specific reason. Exactly. Because it's scary, right, Caroline? At first, it's very scary, Oh,
yeah, definitely. No doubt about it. Yeah. And I talk a lot about how things like that, like loss of a job, loss of a spouse, loss of a child. When I say loss, we know that spiritually there is no loss. Yeah. Our loved ones that pass on, they're still with us. Actually, I know that most of my listeners already know my son is in spirit. I know my son is closer to me now than when he was here in the physical. Because when he was in the physical, he wasn't with me all the time. No. I feel him all the time now.
You feel his presence all the time now. That's beautiful.
Yes. So I understand exactly what you're saying, that, wow, all of a sudden, wow, you're making a great income. You've been doing it for 30 years. And they say, job is gone. Those are our awakening moments. Yes. So I understand.
Yeah. So I had to surrender to that, to surrender to the knowing that I am one with my higher source, with my God, and that I know, that I'm with God at all moments.
Right.
So then from surrendering led to acceptance. And like I always like to quote Buddha anytime I mention acceptance, how he defined it. He said, enlightenment, actually. He said, enlightenment is the quiet acceptance of what is. So like when I really got to accept what happened, accept my life is going as it was, that was a whole aha moment, or satora, I know as it's said, right?
Yeah.
But it was beautiful. So from that, I actually took my message of oneness, and it was from the nudging of my stepdaughter.
Okay.
Who actually told me, she said, Danny, you have these songs. Did you ever try putting it into a musical? I was like, then that's when the light bulbs went off.
Okay.
So what I did was I spent some time, because now I had the time, because I wasn't working.
Now you have time to do what you came here.
Right? Exactly. I was not working 50 hours a week in New York City anymore, so I had more time to expand upon, my creativity. So what I did was I took 10 of my songs that had a kind of similar approach, similar, style of oneness that I could make a story about.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that. And I created a musical. It was a one-man musical featuring yours truly, folks. Mm-hmm. And it's called The Phone Call, a musical to inspire oneness.
Oh.
And so I worked on it hard for about 6 to 8 months, rehearsing it twice a week. It was about an hour and a half. So an hour and a half of just me talking and singing. I really had to get that down, especially knowing that it's just me. Right. For an hour and a half. I don't have anyone that I could just pass the baton to, per se. It's all me. So I really rehearsed it. And then I went out and started performing in some of the local theaters here in New Jersey.
Okay.
And then from there, I got to some bigger theaters, like the Jersey Shore Arts Center, the Middletown Performing Arts Center. And then I was actually accepted through a festival in New York City called United Solo. It's an international theater festival. It's actually the largest international theater festival in the world. They have it every year. It's on Broadway. So I was able to submit my musical, The Phone Call, to that, and it was accepted. So I actually had a chance to perform The Phone Call, my musical about oneness, on Broadway.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Honestly, Caroline, it was like one of the greatest things that I ever got to experience, and I'll always carry and cherish those memories. So here I am now. I'm about a year and a half into my newfound life, per se. And then I had another turn. My mom felt really ill. Okay. And so obviously this was a huge concern to my 2 sisters, my brother and my dad. And, it just got worse and worse and worse over time. She wound up in about an 18-month span. My mother went through about 7 strokes and really just sucked the life out of her. She was the most vibrant woman, Caroline, before she passed, or before she got sick, I should say. Yes. Like out dancing, exercise, doing everything, just always, just a beautiful, beautiful woman, my mom. Yes. And, and to see her just come across something like this and meet her demise, it just took so much out of the family and out of my dad as well. But we all got through it as a family. So, obviously, like a lot of my time, especially after the musical, was spent, going down the shore, being with my dad, sitting with my mom on a daily basis, pretty much. Right. But it was hard. So, in January of 18 is when my mom passed. Okay. And, so that was a whole other thing. But I remember briefly after that, probably, about maybe a month or so after that, because I was feeling her presence just like you do, Kyle, but feeling it so much more and on a daily basis. So I kind of asked her, I was like, Mom, where do I take my message now?
Mm-hmm.
I heard her in my head, Caroline. She, you know, it's funny because my mom always called me Daniel's son. She would say, write a book, Daniel's son. She went like that to me. And I was like, a book? I said, all right, there it is. And from that night, I spent about the next 6-7 months writing my book that I told you about.
Mm-hmm.
And just feeling her inspiration. It, like, the words just spilled right out of me. Very, very similar to, you know, like I heard your conversation with Neil Donald Walsh, and I know how we came across his book, and this was kind of like along those same lines.
Yes.
Of just being inspired and having that inspiration flow through me. It was as if I really wasn't writing the words, like it was just channeling through me.
Yes.
And it was a beautiful experience. And like when I was done, I started shopping for publishers, and that's when I landed on Balboa Press.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest, as they say, is a history in the making. I won't say history because it's still in the making.
It's
growing.
Always expanding.
Always expanding, yeah. And it's been such a cool process. So the book, my friends, is out there. Like I said, it's everywhere. It's called I Am God, and So Are You, My Friend.
Mm-hmm.
A Common Man's Guide to Oneness.
Yes.
So if you're looking for something to read, I highly recommend it, and it's out there, and it's an easy read, folks. It's only about 120 pages, and it comes from me. It sounds like me,
Okay.
which is why I actually use the subtitle "A Common Man's Guide to Oneness," Caroline, because I've read a lot. I've read hundreds of books on spirituality, as I'm sure you have, and I know that a lot of them, I would go as far as to say most of them are tough for me to grasp because of the language in like how they're written.
I understand.
It's just tough to grasp.
I understand.
Yeah, my book sounds like how I'm talking to you right now. That's exactly how you'll read it, because those are the words that came out from me. Like I said, I was channeling my mother's inspiration, and that's just how it came out. So it's an easy read, but I do touch on so many aspects of oneness.
Yes. No, I resonate with you in so many different ways. Kyle said to me in my first, I was gifted my first reading. I knew when Kyle transitioned, I knew he wasn't gone. I knew I wanted a reading with a medium, but I didn't go looking for a medium. So 6 months after Kyle's transition is when I launched my podcast. And I did not know I was going to end up, I didn't know who was going to be guests. I knew I wanted scientists as guests on my show, and people like Neil Donald Walsh. And even at that time, Wayne Dyer was still alive. I wanted Wayne on my show. You know, so I knew those people. But it turned, one of my guests recommended a medium. And so I was like, and I looked up her website. I felt very comfortable with her. I invited her on as a guest. And after the show with her, I said, that's the medium I want to give me a reading. And she actually gifted me a reading on Kyle's birthday. And from that reading, we actually have Kyle's voice on tape. But in that reading, he said to me, Mom, you have a book in you. And my first response, I'm not ready, I'm not ready, I'm not ready. This was November of 2016. He had transitioned in July 2014. But I wasn't ready. I was like, because in my mind, I was like, I gotta build my listenership. I have to build my audience before I write it. But I actually did start writing. I'm about 6 chapters in. I haven't written in the past few months just from being busy and hectic with, for me, I think of being the eye of the storm. Right now, I'm like everything is upside down. But I remember to say, wait a second, that's a dream of my own creation. What, all this stuff around me, all this craziness happening, it's not who I am. Who I am is the peace and the stillness, the calm of the eye, of the center of the storm. So that's what I keep focusing on. And so sometimes when life gets in the way, it knocks me off kilter and I don't get a chance to write, but I stay grounded in the oneness and in the stillness to get through the rough patches in life. But I definitely want, my goal is to at least, be looking for a publisher by the end of this year.
Good for you. I'm sure you'll find it.
Yeah, yes. Well, I did hear from a publisher that's interested before I wrote the book. So I had contacted a publisher just to let them know I'm writing a book, and they said they did email me right back. Well, as soon as you have it, send it to me. So I do have one that is interested, a pretty well-known publisher. I don't want to mention on air, but a pretty well-known publisher said they're already interested. I just have to get it in her hands. It's a she.
I'm sure it'll be very inspirational, just like your show is too, and I'm sure that your audience here and your guests will always, be looking forward to it as well too. Yeah.
But the other thing that we have, and you and I have so much in common, the common man. That's my audience. I want. I don't want to always be preaching to the choir. And like you said, there are so many books, even Eckhart Tolle. I didn't understand the power of now until I understood oneness. Understanding oneness, and it was science. I had been studying spirituality off and on since around the same time. I'm a year older than you. So around this exact same time you found Wayne Dyer, a guy I was interested in my teens, gave me a book to read. It was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Okay.
And his whole thing, he was into making money. But as I read it, I was like, wait, you mean we create our own reality with our thoughts? I never heard that before. It's like, that was my interesting.
Yeah. Isn't it funny, from a book like that, Think and Grow Rich, you got, wait a second, we can create our own world here. That's wonderful.
That's what I got. I didn't get the money part because I've never been, to me, money has always been a tool to do something good with.
That's what it is.
That's what it has always been. And so it was never like the goal for me it was always my passion was and then I said, okay, the money will come as long as I follow my passion. That was kind of innate in me. But so to read it in a book, and nobody ever said that to me.
Yeah.
I was like, very interesting. So that's the book that started me on my journey. But even though, so off and on for 30 years, I was studying metaphysics and spirituality, and I loved what I was hearing. There was a big missing piece for me. And the missing piece I got from science, quantum physics, when I watched a documentary, What to Believe, and it was one sentence. The biggest problem in the world today is the illusion of separateness.
Yeah.
Separateness by Lynn McTaggart, who has been a guest on my show, thankfully. And I'm like, I get it. There is it's just all one. That's simple. And I get it. And to me, when I got it, I'm like, everybody should get this. This is easy to get.
Right.
Honestly, I'm like, why don't people get this?
And doesn't it make you feel great when you see like the world of science getting on board with it as well too? That amazes me. I love that the most.
That really, because after I understood oneness, now all those books that were a little challenging for me, like Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now, I picked that up.
It is
I could not put it down. I understood everything. Oneness made everything make sense to me.
Yeah.
Anything that I was questioning, I get it now. That was my key. That was my awakening. And I was like, wait a second, everybody should get this. And I feel like it's my passion and my mission to share this truth of oneness. And those that it resonates with, it will. And then someone's not ready. And if they're not ready, it's okay. It's no judgment, because that's the beauty of oneness. There is no judgment. Everybody is a reflection of me. So whether they get it or don't get it, it's fine, because I know they're a reflection of me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but I do, my target audience, the people I want to reach the most are the everyday mainstream America, because I'm in America, so start with America, mainstream world. It's a simple truth. Anywhere you look, all of the religions, at the core of every religion is oneness. Mm-hmm. Science teaches about oneness. Everything it's one in every spiritual book, every channel that's channeling nowadays, they all talk about the oneness. It's like, there's no spiritual teaching that doesn't speak about the truth of oneness. And even the major religions at their core, at their very beginning, they spoke about the oneness. So to me, it's like, wake up. It's time to wake up. And
exactly, because the only thing that keeps us really from honing in on that, Caroline, I guess we spoke about the last time we spoke, is just our ego. It's our ego that gives us the illusion of separateness that you just alluded to. And it's a shame. I actually go into one of my chapters, because like I put a lot of thought effort into the ego as well, like almost like, well then why do we, if it does us such a disservice, why do we have an ego? And that always leads me back to when we get into a conversation of, well, for us to realize and experience what we are, we have to live through what we are not.
Exactly.
So while we're here in this physical form, right, our bodies represent something that we're not, because we're not physical bodies. We're spiritual beings having a human experience, not the other way around. Exactly. Right? We're not human beings having a spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings and we're having this human experience. So part of that human experience is the fact that we have to deal with our egos. And the ego makes us think that we're separate from one another and separate from life and separate from our God. Yeah. And therein lies the problem. Exactly. If we can just learn that and understand it, that's what I try to get into, like in the book, like, okay, I struggle with it still to this day. Everyone does. Like the smallest thing, you can catch yourself being, even if it's a tiny judgment towards someone or towards something. What is that? That's nothing more than the ego just telling you, all right, he or she's different from me. You know what I mean? I'm better than this person, or she's better than me, and why is she? You know what I mean? It just keeps adding to our feelings of separation, unfortunately. But again, if we at least understand that, folks, that's what helps us come to terms with oneness better. Because the more that we understand it, you know what we're going to do? The more we're going to think about it. The more that we think about it, the more we're going to catch ourselves in times of being judgmental.
Exactly.
All right. So, it's moments like that. Like, I can't tell you, just like everybody else, folks, I could be walking down the street and I'll just see somebody walking towards me and I'll make an internal comment. But now I'm at a point now in my life where I go, stop, and I just stop myself. And it honestly does take practice, because we're geared in this physical being, to like, again, feel separate and not one.
Right. Yeah, I had met, this was years ago, and it was it was shortly after I had my awakening with What the Bleep, and I was at a gas station, and I was helping out a lady at the gas station, and she was like, oh, thank you so much. And I said, oh, no problem. You're just another me, And I know she was from Jersey. She was here in the Poconos for the weekend, but she was from Jersey. And I know she probably was like, okay, I just stepped into the twilight. So, I know she was thought in her mind, okay, this lady's cuckoo. But it just came out. Now, most of the times I say it to myself. I'll say namaste to everybody that passes me. Namaste meaning I bow to the divine in you. Because I know the divine in you is the
I recognize the union in you, yes.
Right, exactly. But I actually said it out loud. Oh, you're just another me, no problem.
That's so cool. It's good, all right?
Yes.
You see, there's like so many aspects of like oneness to share, folks, but it's just a matter of being inspired. Like you see someone like Caroline here, who's your host, she found her way through inspiration. All right. I found my own way. Again, it's just a story, like I told you, going from just like being a musician and writing lyrics that had a core of oneness to then growing into a musical and then now to a book that I'm still sharing. We have to pay homage to that intuitive side of us. Wayne Dyer always said, and it stuck in me, and I quote it in my book as well, that obviously, like when we talk to God, it's called prayer.
Right.
But when God responds back, I say to people, what's that? And they say, well, is that prayer too? I go, no, that's intuition.
Mm-hmm.
That's your higher source giving you those nudges. We all get them, folks. We all know what they're like. It's that kind of like, you're like, all right, why is something telling me to make a left turn here instead of a right? It could be as simple as when you're driving, but that's intuition. That's your higher source. That's your being. That's what you emanate from, guiding you. So everyone's going to get these moments in life. It's just a matter of when you become receptive to them.
Right.
I was receptive through my music. I listened to it. I kept writing, you know, and here I'm writing rock and roll songs too, folks. But they still had a core of you know, being good, kind to each other, you know, random acts of kindness, oneness, being peaceful.
Yes.
You know, so it comes to us in different ways, but you have to be receptive to it.
Exactly.
You know, like we can feel these things and just keep casting it aside, and then your life keeps going on your kind of, I guess, ego-based trajectory.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Well, what's so true, like you said, we all get those inspirations. And most of the time, we allow the ego mind to steer us away from that inspiration. But
Because that's what we know. It's listening to our ego.
Exactly. And so it's to now the ego makes a pretty good passenger, but not a good driver. You want that inspiration, you want that heart and soul to be the driving force in your life. And the ego is a good passenger because the ego is there to keep the body safe. That's what the ego is for. And so the ego wants you to think all you are is a body, but you are much more. And so I know it's a famous quote, and I can't remember the quote exactly, but in essence, the quote says, the ego makes a good passenger, but not a horrible driver. You want your heart and your soul and your higher self to be the driving force in your life. And that's that intuition that you don't know where it came from. It's like when I got the intuition to do this, launch this radio show in the middle of the night, you know, 6 months after my son's transition, that when you heard your moms tell you the way she would tell you to write a book, you know, it's, yes. We know that's what, and our ego mind, because our logical mind would say, no, you can't do that. You don't have the resources to do that. Or you don't have this, or you don't have this, or you're this and you're that. That's the ego telling. And it will always, the ego's going to always try to steer you against, not to go with that inspiration. And that is coming from directly from your higher self. And our higher self does not stop. It always keeps and keeps and keeps on until we're actually, you know, following the footsteps of our higher self. Yes.
And it's like I said, I had a struggle with it for so long because, you know, all we have really when we think about it is our ego guiding us like in a way which we think is correct.
Right.
But then when you come to terms with that, you know, the understanding that for us to realize again what we are, we have to experience what we are not.
Exactly.
And that's why we're here, folks, because
exactly
spiritual beings. So the whole talk about oneness, like I look at it twofold almost, you know, in a basic conversation, Caroline, I'll tell people, listen, you just don't want to hurt other people. Okay.
Right.
I say, would you chop your left hand off? Of course not. Well, then why would you hurt somebody else? Okay, now there's that side of it, which makes sense to pretty much everybody in the world. But for us to really grasp the like concept as a whole, we have to go to what we are as energy and spirit. And that's when you get involved with conversations about the ego. You're getting, you know, having conversations with everything from spirit. And then I actually take it even further in my book too. I look at it from that point. I go backwards and say, okay, understanding now that we are spirit, let's go back and actually look into religions now. And, you know, so I have people ask themselves, okay, is this religion that you've been following most likely your entire life? How does it serve you now? When you've come to understand oneness, is it making sense to you? Right. Is it serving you now because you understand oneness, or is it really starting to pull you in the direction, okay, this is the way you should be thinking, this is the way you should be worshiping? You know, so there's a lot of ways that oneness grows with people too.
Right.
So, like what I would like to just tell your friends out there is just, again, just be receptive to your intuitive feelings. Know that oneness is part of your makeup. All right. It's what we emanate from. We all emanate from the one source. Again, we're just individualized expressions of just one source. You can call that source whatever you might, whatever you may, like I use God, Caroline, you use God, but still, you can.
Actually, my favorite term for God, I say God because people understand that.
Yes.
But my favorite term personally is all that is.
All that is. I love that.
All that is. There's nothing. This table, this computer, the desk, everything is God. The tree, the grass, the bird, the ant.
And that's so much better too, because it encompasses, like you said, everything. Because like still, when you say God, people's first thought is just some higher being resonating somewhere that's not on this planet. Yeah. And again, that's because we're thinking from an ego. We're thinking even, okay, I'm not worthy of God. God reigns somewhere. No, everything is within. We have to look within. So all that is really spot on.
Yes. All that is.
I got to use that, my friend. You know that. I got to start using that.
Yes.
Hashtag all that is going to start coming on that Oneness Guy show.
Well, when I'm writing, I always write God / all that is.
All that is.
Always.
And I will always give you props for that, my friend. But because that's, hey, listen, if it's just another way for people like to grasp it, folks, use it. Again, Caroline just inspired me yet again. In only my second conversation with her, with something like that, because we're trying to find ways to make you understand oneness better. If all that is resonates more than God, use all that is.
Yes.
Say all that is. Understand what it is. And it's like what Caroline said, this desk, this computer.
Everything.
Nothing
exists outside of God. Nothing exists but God. God is all there is. And when you understand that, to me, it's like, I get it. And everything makes sense to me.
I get it. Yep.
Yeah, I get it.
And that's what we want your listeners to get to, those like moments and say, I get it. And folks, let me tell you, you will. All of us do at like some point. There was yet another great saying by my guru, Dr. Dyer. He said, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And you could apply that to so many aspects of life, because that is the hands-on. Like I've tried, I've been talking about oneness, like issues and stuff like this with my family for decades now, since the early 70s, right?
Okay.
It took some of them maybe longer to get, again, because there's no rhyme or reason. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. As soon as you become more aware of who you are, as soon as you start to be a little more receptive, like we said, to the intuition, that's when you start to noticing, that's when things make sense. And that's when, again, that's when your teachers appear.
Exactly. And the other wonderful thing about oneness that kind of trips people up, they said, but we're all unique, and we are. We're all unique. We're all going to come to our awakening uniquely different. No two awakening, just like no two snowflakes are alike.
Exactly.
No two people. And we are unique aspects of God, of all that is. God wants to experience the world and everything, the universe, every different way he can. I'm just using the terminology he, because God is not a he. God is everything, and it's experiencing itself through us uniquely. Doesn't want to experience me and another me identical to me. It's unique. We're unique aspects of God, and that's exactly how we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be different. We're supposed to be on our own unique journey, because as God, so we're all God, just like you said in the title of we are all God, having this earthly experience that we are creating. Now the other thing is, we're all God having an experience that we are creating. No one is doing it to us.
Yes.
It's happening through us.
Yeah.
So when you come to that understanding, you let go of that victim mentality that, oh, it's always me. I'm always getting picked on. Life is beating up on you. You let go of that victim
And
mentality.
that gets back to that word acceptance, Caroline.
Yeah.
Because, like I've heard people come up to me because in the first chapter of my book, I like tell people straight out, because the world is in a horrible state right now. And everyone's like, why? And I'm saying, well, because we put it here.
Exactly.
Everyone has to remember that we are energy and we are nothing but the sum of our total consciousness.
Exactly.
Okay? We are the sum of what this planet and all its inhabitants have been thinking. And we've been so far removed from oneness.
Yes.
Everyone is thinking ego-based thoughts. It's just driving the rules of separation to encompass the whole world, and we put ourselves in this position.
Exactly.
And then there's the people who think that, well, why would God let this go on? God has nothing to do with it. That's free will, folks. That's why we're in this mess, because we've gotten over centuries and over millennia, we've just totally separated.
Right.
We've become more accustomed with feelings of separation than feelings of oneness. Yeah. And it's just snowballed and it's gotten further. So it's a subconscious that we've all emanated towards. And now the only way for us to get to reverse that is to have a new.
Right. And I love that you said that, because so many people say, well, why does God allow this? Why does God allow that? And when they ask that question, they're removing God from the God is separate.
Yeah.
Than who they are. Them and God are separate when they ask that question. When they realize, wait a second, I'm asking why would God allow this, but wait a second, I'm God. Like you said, I am God. Why am I? Then you have to reverse that question and say, why am I allowing
Why am I allowing this to happen?
Because I am God. That I am the God, because like we say, holographic, which I always encourage people to really look up what holographic means if they don't understand what holographic means. My perfect quote for holographic is Rumi. I love Rumi's quote. You're not a drop in the ocean. You are the ocean. You are all of God in the drop. Every bit of God, not a piece of God. You are all of God in a drop. Just like the cell, we have trillions of cells in our body. And anybody that knows how to clone can take a microscopic cell of you and grow an identical you. Because all of you is in that tiny cell. Just like all of God is in each and every one of us. And collectively, the world is in the state that it's in because collectively we made it that way. Yes. Stop saying he, she, they.
Yeah, no, it's just we. And as imposing as that statement is, and as truthful as it is, there is a way out. But again, like you just said, it has to start with me, and it has to start with you. When we change the way we think,
yes,
all right, as individuals, we will change the world collectively. But that's how it has to happen, folks. It has to be you at home thinking more peaceful thoughts. And that's really all it is, folks. Because keep in mind, every time I use this example, and it blows people away, because I spend chapters in the book talking about how that we are energy. And I say this, you can substitute any of these 6 words. I use an acronym in my book called STEVLS. STEVLS. That stands for spirit, thought, energy, vibration, love, soul. Mm-hmm. Any one of those can be interchanged, right? You can use I like to use thought in the book. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So how many times has this happened to you? Say you have a friend on the other side of the country, all right? Mm-hmm. Your like phone rings and you pick up the phone and you go, oh my God, I was just thinking about you.
Yes, all the time.
And it's like, yeah, because that's how it happens. It's no accident. Your friend on the other side of the country, for one reason or another, he thought about you. And we as energy, his thought emanated into the universe.
Yes.
Your energy grasped onto it,
Yes.
So what did you do? You picked up the phone and you called because you thought of him. It's
Yes.
not an accident, folks. It happens all the time. So getting back to energies, this
Yes.
is why, understanding that energy is important, because if you think
Yes.
that the world is horrible, if you think in terms of war and hatred, if you think in terms of divisiveness, what are we going to get collectively?
Exactly.
Those things, right?
Exactly.
But if you change individually to think of oneness, to think of peaceful thoughts, and that's what gets emanated from your mind on a daily basis, that'll snowball too, just how the other side of the equation did.
Yes.
That's why people say, how can I effectively be changed? By just really looking at how you think during any given day. I like to say, think about what you think about.
Mm-hmm.
In the Bible, they said, as you think, so shall you be.
Exactly.
There was it too. Caroline and I are not reinventing the wheel, as they say, folks. We're just regurgitating eternal truths, as I like to call them, that have been around through Jesus, through Buddha,
Yes.
through Carl Jung. Albert Einstein said it. These great scientific minds that you've been referring to Wayne Dyer, to Neil Donald Walsh.
Yes.
And now to me and you.
Yes, and it's like, and
everyone else out there, folks. It's not just us, it's all of us.
Anything you study spiritually, any spiritual book you pick up, it's almost in their first opening statement. We are all one. Everything, the law of one. I have not read the book, but the first sentence in the book, the law of one, is everything is one thing. I mean, it's just, the oneness is so it's so, I call it universal oneness. To me, it's like, and that universal oneness brings about unconditional love, unconditional forgiveness, because you realize that other person is just a reflection of you. And so you by forgiving another, you're only forgiving yourself, because that person is just a reflection of you. And so you do unto others, the golden rule, do unto others. And Jesus said, when he was asked, where is the kingdom of heaven? He said, the kingdom of heaven is within.
He did not say without. He did not say up in the sky. He did not say outside of your realm.
Right.
No, he said it's within. We just always, all of our answers, folks, lie within.
Very true. Very true. And to me, like to you and I, it's just, and I believe people will get that light bulb moment. And the more and more,
everyone,
the more and more we wake up as, not Buddhist, not a Buddha. Who says it? I know who said. Someone said, "Be the change."
That's nice. I love that. Yeah.
You want to be the change. And who said that quote? Gandhi.
Gandhi.
Be the change.
Another beautiful mind, right?
Yes, God. And that's so true and so simple. Be what you want to see peace in the world. Be peaceful. You want to see love in the world. Be loving. What you want to see, you must be.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it makes sense too. Also, folks, keep this in mind when you're coming to terms with obviously understanding oneness and what you want to emanate into the world regarding thought. Keep in mind too something what I heard Wayne Dyer say, that Mother Teresa said this back in the Vietnam War. They asked her if like she would march against the war,
right?
And, down in Washington D.C. and she said absolutely not. And when she was asked why, she goes, "If you have a march for peace, I'll be first in line." You see the difference, folks? We can take things and skew them any way we want. Don't be fighting, against war. Be for peace. Because I also heard Dyer say too, again, I regurgitate a lot of his quotes, but he said that anything that we fight weakens you. Anything that we are for empowers you. So getting back to what we are, getting back to our thoughts, if you're going to put out thoughts about I hate war, I hate the war, I hate the war, that's just going out there. That's not helping anything. If you emanate thoughts of I love peace, I want peace, I am peace. Use those two words.
Right.
2 words can change your life, okay? I need you to preface what you want in life. You're like, I am peace, I am health, I am prosperity. all those things to help you individually, again, in turn, which helps us all collectively.
Yes, and like you said, everything is energy. Okay, the energy of war is hate. So if you say, I hate anything, you're taking the energy of war, which is hate. And you say you hate something, all you're doing is putting more hate into the universe.
Yeah.
With that energy. So that same energy is not going to come back. The only thing that can overcome hate is love.
Yeah.
The only energy. So you put love. I love peace. You send that energy out into the world because you are that powerful. We each are equally powerful. And it has nothing to do with how much money we have in the bank. We're equally powerful with our energy and the energy we put out in the world. And you want to put out loving, peaceful thoughts because those thoughts radiate just like you drop a pebble in a pond. And those ripples ripple to the entire pond. That's how strong you are. Your thoughts, you put out peace and love, and that's going to ripple throughout the universe, not even just the planet. The whole universe is connected. The whole universe.
Think about it too, right, Caroline? Think about how we feel when, you know, I know like if I'm upset at things or like if I'm mad at something, like I automatically go into kind of like a defense mode, right? I feel my whole being tighten up,
Yes.
right? And the energy just feels wrong, you know what I mean? So just think about it from that angle, folks. Like even just having thoughts like that, notice what happens to your body physically. It changes our whole makeup. So of course, if it's changing our body and changing our makeup, changing our posture, anything, think about the thought that's going out there. It's not a good one. And again, our universe does not judge. It doesn't know the difference between what we're thinking is good or bad. It's just accepting our collective consciousness as is. And again, what we said earlier, over the centuries and millennia, it's been such a collective consciousness of separateness.
Yes.
That this is all we made this mess.
Yes.
We made it.
Yes, we did. So yes, that's number one. Own it. Owning your life experience. Own it. Don't blame anybody. It's not mommy's fault. It's not daddy's fault. It's not nobody's fault. Your life is your experience that you are creating. Own that, and then own what is happening in the world. You are a collective part, an equally collective part of what's happening in this world.
Yeah, exactly. Do we like it? No. Do we accept it though? Yes.
Yes.
But this is the hand we were dealt if you're a card player. Right? So this is what we were dealt. So we accept it, but on the same token, oneness makes it accepted, I should say, but through the eyes of oneness, where I don't like what I see out in the world, I accept it again through the eyes of oneness helps me.
Right.
Because I can understand that, okay, I don't like it, but hey, I'm part of it and I know it can change.
Exactly. Well, I take it, I don't like what I'm seeing, but I know I help create it. So I know if I help create it, I can help change it.
You can help change it.
It's empowering.
So is, my friend.
When you
so is, my friend.
It's empowering. So I can actually do something. We all can. We all are here. We're all here. We're all here as a soul. Our soul came here for a very important purpose. And we all have a unique purpose. And we all know, because Spirit will tell us within what our unique purpose is. And when we follow our unique purpose, that's when we're shining our light and doing what we came here to do. We came here for a reason.
And again, folks, how do you get to that point? Intuition. Look for the signs. Be receptive to the signs. Exactly what Caroline's alluding to. But you have to be receptive towards it because you'll get nudges. And if you just cast them aside, keep going on. Not that it's right or wrong, folks. Again, life just is.
Now that's another thing I find that when I'm trying to teach oneness, to share oneness, because I say I don't teach, I can only inspire. Inspire you to go in. But when I try to share the truth of oneness, when I say there's no right or wrong, that makes people's head go crazy. What do you mean there's no right or wrong? There isn't. It just is.
Yeah.
Because first of all, when you understand truthfully and you know what? There's an easy way for me to explain that what we're living in is an illusion, is a dream of our own creation. In 7th grade, I was studying molecules and atoms, and the teacher said, nothing is truly solid. I was like, what? What do you mean?
Yeah, remember that?
Yeah. Remember, we all learned that in 7th grade. Yeah. We all learned that nothing is truly solid.
So this desk I'm sitting at right now, which I can knock on, nope.
It's not solid. Put it under a high-power microscope. You know what we see.
And what do you see? Yeah.
Yeah, we see yes, in atoms. And then they recently found out in moving these tiny moving particles we call atom, but you even go deeper in it, it's 99.9% empty space.
Yeah.
In truth, what appears to be solid is truly not.
It's an illusion.
So it's an illusion. So when you understand that this world is an illusion, and just go back to that molecule, go back to that atom, you're like, wait a second. We are literally living in a dream world of our own creation. Nobody created it. We created it.
Our frequencies are just vibrating at a much slower pace, which is why we perceive ourselves to be the physical, like this, our hands, our bodies, this desk that you were just alluding to.
Yes.
That's all it is. It's just, frequencies vibrating at a slower pace.
Very slow. It's very low density, and it's very slow. And that's what makes it appear solid. As we raise our vibration, you can actually see, because honestly, I can actually see the movement. Like, I can actually look at something, stare and see it vibrating. I can see the vibration. So as you get higher and lighter, you actually can start to see.
That, yeah.
The illusion. Yeah.
Something I've started to know, that I've seen over the years too, that always makes me smile. But sometimes I don't know when or I don't know where, but sometimes I can just look at somebody and I can see their aura.
Yeah.
Right? And that to me is just the coolest thing. Like, I just see like a kind of like yellowish haze, like totally like shaping their whole body. And I'm like, wow.
Wow. That is cool.
Yeah. I love, I don't know, like it hasn't happened in about probably like 3 or 4 years now. It's less time I've seen it, but every time it happens, and I'm always with my wife, so I always tell her right away, I go, hon, look, she's like, what? I said,
yeah.
Yes, that's so cool.
Are you familiar with Edgar Casey?
Yes.
Okay, he could see auras. He could naturally see auras. And it was interesting. He was in New York, and I think it was the Macy's building, this many, many years ago. And he could always see, it was natural to him. He saw everybody's aura. He was about to get on an elevator. And on that elevator, there was like 5 or 6 people on the elevator. And he didn't get on the elevator.
Mm-hmm.
He did not see anybody's aura. And it freaked him out.
Really?
So he didn't get on. That cable snapped. Seconds after the door closed, the cable snapped. All 6 people were killed.
Oh my God.
So, but this true story. This happened I think somewhere in New York, and I think in Macy's. But the cable snapped and they were killed. But he didn't get on the elevator because he could not see their aura.
Not see their aura.
Yep. And then within minutes they were all gone.
Wow, that's an amazing story. I was not aware of that story.
Yeah. But Edgar Casey, he's the sleeping, because when he channeled he was completely out. He was sleeping, and so they had to record it because he didn't remember a thing. That he channeled all this wonderful stuff, and they have it all recorded. A great place to visit is the Edgar Casey Center in Virginia Beach. I did visit that one time.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Google him, Edgar Casey Center, and everything is archived. All of his channeling and everything is archived. He gave really good information. Yeah.
Wow.
But this has been amazing. This is wonderful. I love the fact that you're not far away. You're in New Jersey, and maybe we'll even meet in person. Because I always say, all my guests, I'd love to meet in person. And you're close enough that we could actually do that.
We can arrange that. Absolutely, Caroline. And again, folks, keep your journeys open, you know, keep your heart open, be receptive. Like, you are oneness, just as we are. No one's different. But again, the sooner that we come to terms with that, the sooner we're going to see our own lives change. And again, you just live from a more peaceful foundation. Like I always say, most of the reason why I like wrote the book that I did was because it's been taking stress off of my life. Like, again, I was telling you about the story about like getting laid off, big stressful situation, but it helped me to surrender, and it helped me to come to terms with acceptance. And, you know, and which is the same thing as just taking a lot of stress off of my life, but it'll do that for you. And again, even though the world is in, you know, such crazy ways, we'll see it through the eyes of oneness, how I like to say, which at least, you know, makes us accept it more and really start to focus in on what we think about and what kind of energies we emanate into the world. Because that's how it'll happen. So stay on your path now, you folks out there.
Yes. And I'd like, do you have a copy of your book so you can show them your cover?
Yes,
You should have your book nearby. Find a copy.
Yeah.
Okay.
My wife.
Right. Show your book to the audience.
Is that good? Can you see it from that?
Yes. Yes. I am God. Yes. Now tilt it the other way. Because nope. It was better. Nope. You had it. Yep. It's better. You can see it better that way. Yep. I love it. And they can find that on. They can find it on Amazon. Yeah.
Everywhere. Amazon.com. You can go to any and everywhere, folks, I should say.
Okay.
And I actually have a website for the book too, which is iamgodbook.com.
Okay.
You can find all of my stuff there. I have links for my podcast there as well too. Again, which is I go out as that Oneness Guy. So please, if you want to hear some of that, you can subscribe on that site for that. If you're curious to hear some of the stuff that I talked about, my music and the musical, you can go to DannyRongo.com. I have a ton of information there, and all my music is there as well too. Like I said, everything is one package with me. It's my music and the message. So by all means, check it out and stay in touch with this program here, because Caroline is a beacon in our world here, and it's a pleasure for me just to be now an acquaintance and a friend. So, to all your listeners out there, you're doing the right thing here by like listening to someone like Caroline. And again, it's a matter of how we inspire you. So hopefully today's show inspired you. I know I was inspired just by listening to Caroline. Like I said, it's my second time speaking with her, and it's been such an inspiration, Caroline. So I can't thank you enough for having me. Again, I'm going to reciprocate, folks. So as soon as I get something up and running where I can have Caroline on my show, she's going to be my first guest. Because I've just been speaking and singing on my podcast, but I want to have Caroline introduce her to my friends too on my podcast.
Well, thank you. I will love to be there. And I just love that you are shining your light. Continue to shine your light. And yes, I love that you are a friend and a neighbor, because you're not far. And we're going to get together. Yes, and have some fun before the summer is over. Okay.
Absolutely, Caroline.
Okay. Thank you so much, Danny. I love you. Give a big hug and kiss to your wife. I got a chance to meet her. What's your wife's name again?
Andrea.
Andrea. I love it. Love that name. Beautiful name. Give her a big hug and kiss from me.
I will, Caroline.
Keep in touch. Okay.
Thank you, everybody. Peace.
Love you. Peace. Bye-bye.